It was a cold, rainy night in February 2000, when 9-year-old Asha Degree vanished without a trace, sparking a mystery that continues to puzzle investigators and haunt the quiet town of Shelby, North Carolina. What started as an ordinary evening for the Degree family quickly turned into a nightmare from which they would never awake. On February 14, 2000, Asha Degree disappeared from her home in the middle of the night, leaving behind no clues, no signs of struggle, and no reason for her to leave. At the time, Asha was a normal young girl, close to her family, excelling in school, and preparing for a bright future. She had no history of running away, and nothing in her life suggested that she would be the victim of such an inexplicable event. But that night, everything changed. No one could have predicted that a child so innocent, so full of promise, would simply vanish. No one could have anticipated that over 2 decades later, Asha's story would still remain unsolved, her fate still a mystery. Asha Degree was born on August 5, 1990 in Shelby, North Carolina. She was the daughter of Harold and Aquila Degree and the younger sister to O'Brien. Described by her family and friends as a bright, sweet, and well-behaved child, Asha stood out for her quiet demeanor and love for reading. She had a passion for books, especially those by Dr. Seuss, and she excelled in school. Her teachers and classmates would describe her as a shy but thoughtful child, one who always did her best in school and was loved by all who knew her. On the night of February 13, 2000, Asha and her older brother O'Brien went to bed as usual. Later that evening, a car accident in the area caused a temporary power outage in their neighborhood. By 12:30 a.m., the power was restored, and Asha's father, Harold, checked on the children, finding both of them sound asleep in their beds. Before he went to bed around 2:30 a.m., Harold checked on them once more, and again saw them peacefully sleeping. Little did he know it would be the last time he would see his daughter. The next morning, around 6:30 a.m., Aquila Degree went into Asha's room to wake her for school. What she found was chilling. Asha was gone. Her bed was empty, and the covers were neatly turned back. There were no signs of a struggle or a break-in, but Asha was nowhere to be found. The window in her room had been slightly opened, and the front door was found unlocked. Asha's sneakers were missing, but there was no sign of where she had gone or how she had left the house. Her backpack, her coat, and her school materials, all the things a child would take if she were leaving for school, were still inside the house. It was as though Asha had simply disappeared into thin air. By 6:40 a.m., the first police or officers had arrived on the scene. Law enforcement agencies, along with volunteers from the community, began a massive search. Police dogs called to the scene could not pick up Asha's scent. Local authorities swiftly began canvassing the neighborhood, questioning everyone they could find in hopes of uncovering clues. Yet no one reported seeing Asha leave her home or walking along the nearby streets that night. The first promising lead came from 2 individuals, a truck driver and a motorist, who reported spotting a young girl walking along Highway 18 during the early morning hours. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., the truck driver and motorist said they saw a young girl walking along Highway 18 wearing a long-sleeved white t-shirt and white pants just north of its junction with Highway 180. The motorist said that he turned around because he thought it was strange such a small child would be out by herself at that hour. He circled 3 times and saw Asha run into the woods by the roadside and disappear. This was the first real clue. A child was walking alone on a desolate highway in the middle of the night. But was it Asha? And if so, why was she walking out there at that hour? On February 15th, searchers discovered candy wrappers in a shed near a business along the highway, close to the area where Asha had been spotted running into the woods. Alongside the wrappers were a pencil, a green marker, and a yellow hair bow. Strangely, they also found a photograph of an unidentified black girl around Asha's age. This collection of items was the only trace of Asha uncovered during the initial search efforts. Fast forward to August 3, 2001, over a year after Asha's disappearance. A significant breakthrough occurred. though it raised even more questions. A construction contractor working in Burke County, about 26 miles from Asha's home, discovered her backpack buried at the worksite. Inside, investigators found a children's book from her school's library, although there was no record of Asha or her family ever checking it out. Also in the bag was a New Kids on the Block t-shirt, which did not belong to Asha. This raised more questions than it answered. Why was the book bag found so far from Asha's home? Who had put it there, and why? Was Asha alone when the bag was abandoned, or had someone been with her? As the investigation continued, a new theory began to take shape. Asha had been seen walking along Highway 18 that night, and some witnesses reported seeing a car, a dark green vehicle, on the road at the time. This vehicle was described as possibly being a 1970s-era Ford Thunderbird or Lincoln Mark IV. One of the truck drivers, in particular, recalled seeing a car parked near the spot where he had seen the young girl. This green car was mentioned in several different reports, but no one could confirm who owned the vehicle or whether it had any direct connection to Asha's disappearance. Could this car have been involved? Did the driver stop to offer Asha a ride, or was the vehicle somehow connected to the mystery of what happened to her? These questions lingered, but authorities couldn't track down the owner of the car, and the lead eventually went cold. As the months passed and no new leads surfaced, speculation grew. Some theories suggested that Asha had been abducted by someone who knew her, someone from the local community. The fact that the book bag was found so far from her home led many to believe that Asha may have been taken against her will. But who could have done this? One theory pointed to the possibility of Asha's being lured away by a stranger. Given the rainstorm and the desolate location where Asha was spotted walking, it seemed likely that whoever took her knew the area well. But no suspects ever emerged, and investigators were left with more questions than answers. In September 2024, investigators disclosed new findings from search warrants that highlighted a potential connection between the disappearance of Asha Degree and a Charlotte area family, the Deadmans. This revelation came after forensic testing linked DNA from Asha's belongings to two individuals: Annalie Deadman Ramirez, who was 13 years old at the time of Asha's disappearance, and Russell Underhill, a now-deceased man who had lived in facilities operated by the Deadman family. The warrants prompted searches at multiple properties linked to the family, including homes in Shelby and Charlotte, and an assisted living facility in Vale. Investigators seized several items, including vehicles matching witness descriptions of a green car associated with Asha's disappearance. They also reportedly found a human tooth during these searches. Court documents revealed that DNA from Annalie matched a sample taken from Asha's undershirt, raising serious questions about how she may have been connected to Asha's belongings. Given Annalie's young age at the time, investigators suspect adult involvement, potentially from her father, Roy Deadman, or her mother, Connie Deadman, in concealing a crime. Roy Deadman, who is now in his 80s, has denied any knowledge or involvement in the case. His attorney has urged the public not to jump to conclusions, citing the late Russell Underhill, whose DNA was also found, as a possible key to understanding the case. Underhill, who passed away in 2004, had connections to the Deadman family but was not considered a suspect. These developments have reinvigorated the search for answers, though no arrests have been made. Investigators now firmly believe Asha was the victim of a homicide, with her remains likely concealed. However, the Deadmans continue to deny any involvement, leaving many questions still unanswered as authorities pursue further evidence in this decades-old mystery. As the years passed, Asha's family was left in a constant state of uncertainty. Her parents, Harold and Equia, never gave up hope, even as the years stretched into decades without answers. Every year, on the anniversary of her disappearance, they would hold vigils, praying for a breakthrough, hoping against hope that their daughter would one day return. Through it all, they've remained determined to find out the truth. Their pain, their grief, their love for Asha never faded, and they continue to search for the answers that have eluded them for so long. Though her case remains unsolved, the search for her continues. The FBI still actively investigates the case, and new information is periodically released, including age-progressed photos of what Asha would look like today, now in her 30s. The reward for information leading to her recovery has grown, and it stands as a reminder that the case is far from closed. Before you go, if you're as intrigued by mysteries and true crime stories as we are, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. And if you're curious about more unsolved mysteries, check out our latest video on the missing Skelton brothers. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe and stay curious.